Alright guys, a few weeks ago I bought myself a new car. Well, an old car actually. 60 years old to be precise. And what I'm going to be doing is renovating it and putting the videos here on YouTube. Now I've never renovated a car before, so I thought I'll start off with something simple, and I started to remove all the carpets to do the floor of the car. But now I'm waiting for some parts to turn up. So while I'm waiting for them parts, I thought I'll make a quick video where I'm refurbishing the centre console. Seems like a simple job. I'm going to be covering the sides. It's a metal construction, and I'm going to be covering the sides in the same material as what I'm going to be covering the seats in a future video. And I'm going to cover the top in walnut to match the dashboard, which also is going to get covered in a future video. So today it's just recovering this and seeing how it turns out. Let's get making. Well, that came off easy enough with the heat gun. So now all I have to do is treat this surface rust. This is like the floor of the car actually. It's solid, but it's just got some light rust spots. So I'm going to clean it all up, paint, get this back to bare metal on the rusted places, paint it with anti-rust liquid. And then on the inside I'm just going to give that a recoat of black paint, but the rest I'm just going to leave it as it is because it's going to get recovered, as long as there's no rust to come back through later. Quite solid, good. So now this piece is ready for a degrease, primer and paint on the interior. I'm going to leave the exterior as it is. Like I said, it's going to get covered. So while I'm waiting for the paint to dry, I'm going to take this apart, put all the bits into a plastic bag so I don't lose them, and then I'll leave it till tomorrow before I carry on. Well, that's not going to be as easy as I thought. I thought this was going to be a flat piece with a bit of a recess here, but there's a bit more to it than that. Still, I can still do it, but just not quite as easy as what I thought it was going to be. No worries. something else to do, and we'll carry on with that tomorrow. Yesterday, the last thing that you saw me do was paint the inside of this, and that looks like new now. It's fantastic. I'm dead pleased with that. So what I'm going to be doing now is giving the top of this and the top of this a walnut finish, and hopefully when it's done it'll look something like this. Let's try and give you a better view. Doesn't really do it justice on camera, but it looks absolutely fantastic and it's perfectly smooth. And if I can get the top of that looking anywhere near as good as this, I'll be a happy man. And this is also the same method I'm going to use for doing the dashboard in a future video. So here's how I'm going to do it. First of all, I get myself a wooden base, and then on top of the wooden base I'm going to glue some of this. Now this is walnut. It's walnut burr, which is a very, very thin slice of walnut. Looks a bit dull at the moment, but once you put the resin on it, it comes up like I've just showed you. So the next thing I do is I put masking tape. Once this walnut's glued on, I put masking tape all around the edge like this, and then we pour resin onto the walnut. Now once the resin's cured and you remove the walnut, you end up with, let me try and zoom in on this, the resin, it lifts up at the edges where it touches the masking tape. So once you take the masking tape off, you end up with these like little points. Now I don't want that, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a piece a bit bigger than what I actually need, and then I'm going to trim it to size once the resin's cured. I'm going to start by cutting the two pieces of wood that the walnut is going to glue onto. This one is just for the size, so I'm going to mark round, make it a little bit bigger so that when I fill it full of resin I can trim it to the exact size. And this one, I'm going to have to reuse this piece of metal. This is going to have to sit on the bottom of the wood. And the reason being is that there's two nuts welded on, and them are for the screws for the hinge. And also we've got the recess for the original lock. So I have to reuse this. I don't want to try and make this out of wood, it just won't be strong enough. Now the only unfortunate thing with this is if the wood was fitting on this side, I could just fit it straight on because it's flat. But because it's on this side, I'm going to have to make some recesses into the wood for this slot, for this stiffener, and for the two nuts. So now that I've cut the recess, this plate fits nicely in, and I can now cut it out, flip it over and glue the walnut to it. So now that you've got all your bits, let's tidy up and then get on with it. Okay, so it's a day later and now I just have to remove all these clamps and we'll see if it's turned out okay or not. Well, here we go. Ooh, very nice. Very, very nice. Oh, I like that. That's excellent. And now for this one. Oh, this one's stuck. Oh. Oh no. Oh no, 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 no. Oh no, not too bad. Let's have a look. Oh, that is lovely. Oh, that is fantastic. What a good do. I'll give that a light sanding now. Trim all the edges up. Put my masking tape on and fill it full of resin. Let's get on with it. Right, let's quickly get these edges smoothed up. Now the only important thing is that all the sides are nice and smooth, and that way I can put masking tape on and it'll form a seal. So let's go and do that. This one's already been done and I'm just going to do this one. But before I do, I've refitted the back plate, and the reason for doing that is because what that's done is it's bent the wood to the shape of the metal plate. If I let the resin harden and then fit the backing plate, if it moves the wood, it might just crack the resin. I very much doubt it, but hey, why take the risk? So let's get the masking tape on and then I can pour my resin. So now that that's done, the last thing I'm going to do today is to mix my resin, pour it in, and then I'll just have to leave it till tomorrow, and if it's turned out okay, I'll trim it up. Now get your heat gun ready, because after all that mixing there's going to be some air bubbles in that resin, and when you pour it you've got to pop all them bubbles. So here we go. Well, it seems to be spreading in all directions, which is a good sign. If it all rushed to one corner, that means it's not level, obviously. Right, I'll save a little tiny bit and I'll try and spread this out. And now, pop any little bubbles. And there we go, that looks absolutely fantastic. Now I'll just leave it until tomorrow and we'll see how it turns out. Well, it's a day later and look at that, that is fantastic. The resin's all cured. They look superb. I'm really pleased with them. So all I have to do now is take the masking tape off, then trim them to size, and they're ready for going back on. So let's get on with that. So now you can see how much I've got to trim off. But you can also see the edges, how it's raised up. And so once I've trimmed it to size, it'll be absolutely perfectly flat all the way across. Wow, I've just noticed there's like a glitter in the resin, and it looks, in real life you can hardly see that, but on camera it just magnifies it. I don't know, that's really strange. Look at the other one, you can hardly see anything. That's how it looks to me. In fact, they're both the same. Right, that looks normal now. And what about this one? Yeah, look at that. Huh. That's really strange. Doesn't look anything like that in real life. Oh well. I like it. Let's get trimming. So while the glue's drying on the wood, I'm going to have a go at making some panels for the side of the console. And I'm making it out of the same material what I'm going to cover the seats with. Well, hopefully. Let's have a go. I've left enough space so I can add some extra material on before I cut it. Well, there's all the pieces made. One piece was easy. This other piece, well, that was quite complicated to work out. And then I've got the two sides and the front. I've also made some piping which I'm going to try and put around the edge. I've never done that before. In fact, this is the first time I've ever made a piece of piping, so I don't know how that's going to work out, but I'm going to give it a go anyway. And just before I stitch it all together, I've marked out on the inside a pattern, so I'm going to run that. I'm going to run a blue stitch for a pattern, and I've just got to mark it out on these two pieces, put the pattern on, and then I can start stitching it together. Let's give it a go. Well, it's a few hours later and I've got all my vinyl sewn up. I've got the foam pieces, the padding for the sides of the console, and now all I have to do is glue everything on. But I can't do that inside the house because it will stink the house out. So I'm going back to my garage. All that's left to do now is to fit the lock and the two new wooden pieces. Well, there it is, guys. It's all finished. And for saying I've never used a sewing machine before, it's not bad for a first attempt. The sides are going to match the seats, the top's going to match the dashboard, and as soon as my spare parts turn up, I can carry on filming the video that I started a few weeks ago. So if you don't want to miss it, subscribe to my channel. Thanks for watching, guys. Catch you next time.